Erev Tov, everyone, and welcome to the House of Seven Beggars. It is Tuesday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the east side of the United States, here in the diaspora. This, of course, is the House of Seven Beggars. Therefore, it must be the Shul Study Hall. Good to have you here with us this evening, Shoshi, and Shlomo, and Stephen, and more to come. Miles just popped in. Good evening to you, Miles. Okay, so we are almost through the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. We have about 67, 68 pages left. So I guess it's time to start getting some ideas about what we're going to study after we finish the Code of Jewish Law. Now, are we going to return back to the Talmud that we were studying before, pick up where we left off, which I still have? Yep. I still have the piece of paper where I was keeping track of everything and where we were and what we had studied and all that. So we can pick up where we left off if that's what we decide to do, or we can go into studying something else. So I'm looking for ideas. So if you have an idea, let me know. And of course, like we were saying, that things are going to be shifting around here pretty soon. Like I said, we're coming close to the end of the Shulchan Aruch. We'll be done with this in a matter of weeks. On the Torah study, the Shul Torah study is going to change format because we are not going to try and keep up with the Parashot after Simchas Torah. We're not going to try and keep up with the Parashot of the Torah for the weekly readings. We are going to go into an in-depth study of the Torah, which means we are probably looking at a couple of years to get through the entire thing. So we have that, and of course Zeta is back with story time. We'll see how that works out. So far it's working out pretty good. We're kind of fine tuning things back in again. It's a little different. We have a completely different setup than we had before. So we're trying to have to come in and refigure out camera angles and all that other stuff, which really doesn't mean anything to you, but something I have to take into consideration. Anyway, we left off the last time we were here. I forgot. This will be the last study hall until after the High Holy Days. Rosh Hashanah is next week, and Yom Kippur the week after that. And depending on how Sukkot falls, depends on whether we will have a class. But yeah, we'll keep you up to date. Either and if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, go to the Seven Beggars website, sevenbeggars.com. It's at the end of the intro, so if you ever need to, you can just go back to the YouTube channel and play any one of the videos, and it'll tell you where our website is. And you can sign up for the newsletter, where we'll keep you up to date every week on what the broadcasts are and what our schedule is and all that other stuff. Also, we will be publishing probably Sunday. We will probably publish the High Holy Day schedule because we have to get everything set up and all that other stuff. Also want to apologize for last night for those of you who are, wow, room filled up quick. John and Richard. Richard is with us from Miami. And we are very happy that he and his mother survived Irma, and with very little issues. We'll just say it like that. Okay. But we will, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, sign up for the newsletter so you can keep up to date on what the schedule is, what's going on, and all that other stuff. Okay. So when we left off the last time, we had just begun on chapter 181. This is volume 4 of the the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. And if you don't have the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, if you look just below in the description, there is a link there to an online version so that you can follow along with us. It is actually, I think it is actually the Gansfried edition. It's a different year. So there are some subtle differences between the two, but for the most part, they're pretty much the same. The differences aren't worth really being worried about. But so we are on volume 4, chapter 181. We are talking about litigation and testimony. We left off, we had completed paragraph 9, and we are going to start this week on paragraph 10. So, and of course, before we do the study, we do the bracha for the study, and because the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch comes from the Shulchan Aruch, which comes from the Talmud, which comes from the Torah, then the bracha for the study of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is the same as for the study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'asok b'divrei Torah. And we're off and running. Paragraph 10. When the people of a community appoint judges, they must ascertain that each of them possesses the following 7 qualities: wisdom in the Torah, humility, fear of God, hate of money, love of truth, the esteem and love of his fellow men, and a reputation for good deeds. Now, the Talmud actually goes, I don't know if it's actually going to talk about it, but the Talmud actually says that one should appoint judges who are rich men. And it's been interpreted here who hate money. Well, it's basically, you can't bribe a rich man, right? He already has all the money. So to appoint men who are wealthy so they cannot be bribed. Whosoever appoints a judge unfit for his position transgresses the precept which says in Deuteronomy 1:7, ye shall not respect persons in judgment, meaning thereby, ye shall not favor anyone by saying, so-and-so is wealthy, so-and-so is my relative, I will appoint him as a judge. It is forbidden to rise for any judge whose appointment has been brought by means of silver and gold. In other words, they bought the judgeship. And it is likewise forbidden to show him any other mark of respect. With reference to such a person, the rabbis of blessed memory apply the verse in Exodus 20:22, ye shall not make with me gods And the Hebrew word Elohim and also means judges, of silver nor gold, of silver or gods or judges of gold. And that comes from the Talmud, Sanhedrin, Tractate Sanhedrin, Folio 7b, if you want to look it up. So let's read that as far as it goes for judges. Ye shall not make with me judges of silver, nor judges of gold. Okay, paragraph 7. Let's see what's... Okay, so 11. In communities where there are no men learned enough to qualify as judges, they should appoint the best and the wisest of the townsmen to act as judges. Which kind of brings me right back to Zeta's story corner last night about the Helmite rebellion, which was the second story that Zeta told last night. And if you didn't get a chance to see it, you might want to replay it. And again, I'm going to apologize because somehow, when I was setting things up, I turned off the chat. So, anyway. So townsmen to act as judges, although they are not properly qualified, in order that the people should not take their cases before a heathen tribunal. As soon as they are accepted as judges by the townspeople, no one can disqualify them. The judges should do everything for the glory of heaven. Paragraph 12. If one is summoned by one's neighbor to testify in his behalf at a court of law, and he is qualified to do so, he is obligated to testify, whether or not there are other witnesses besides him. And we talked about the number of witnesses last week. There was a whole thing about the number of witnesses that were required. And the Talmud even goes into more detail on it. If he refuses to testify, he will be answerable to the heavenly court. A person is forbidden to testify in a matter of which he has no personal knowledge, even if his knowledge is based on what a reliable person had told him, hearsay. If the litigant says to him, "Come to court and just stand by the one witness that I have in order to make the debtor believe that I have two witnesses, and consequently he will admit his obligation to me," he must not hearken to him, as it is written in Exodus 23:7, "Keep thee far from a false manner." Now, we talked about this quite a bit last week, about a person owing a debt, saying he doesn't owe a debt. I don't know what that is crawling on my ceiling, but it is pretty big. And as long as it stays over there, we're good. If he starts coming this way, we're going to have a problem. Anyway, I have no idea why I even looked up there. Big sucker, whatever it is. Okay, well, we talked about this. We talked about this last week, that about people owing money, and I even told a story about it, about the rabbi who had accepted the money for a debt that was owed him, forgot to, or neglected to give the person the paper back that where he stated his indebtedness, and forgot about it, and then later on accused the man of not paying him back. So if you didn't see it, then go back and watch the last show. Simple as that. Rebbe Chauvin, good to have you with us. I have got to talk to you about getting you hooked in here so that you can be part of the Torah study when we start up after Simchas Torah. Because we're going to be getting in depth into the Torah, and I would really like it if you were with us. If you can't be here physically, we're going to figure out a way to get you here, at least by computer, so that you and I are back together again doing the Torah study. Anyway, back to the Shulchan Aruch, paragraph 13. And for those of you who just came in, we are on volume 4, chapter 181, paragraph 13. The testimony of one witness is admissible only when a monetary transaction is involved, when his testimony may result in requiring the administration of an oath. Likewise, if a person is about to commit an illegal act, one witness may testify in order to prevent him from committing it. But if his neighbor has already violated the prohibited act, he should not testify, for since his single testimony is not believed, it will be considered as though he had spread an evil report about his neighbor. In other words, he would be speaking Lashon Hara. Reb Ruvain says, "Who boy?" And yes, Richard, it is shoshi, not sushi. Sushi. Sushi is those little round things that the Japanese bring in the big boats. Okay. Anyway, paragraph 14. The testimony of a witness who accepts a reward for testifying is null and void. This, however, relates only to one who has already witnessed the facts and is duty-bound to testify. But he may take compensation to the extent that he has been inconvenienced, but no more. So if he, he had to hire a driver to bring him, or he had to miss work that day or something like that, then he's allowed to get compensated for his loss, but not for his testimony. No more than what his actual loss is. Also, if it is troublesome for him to appear before the court, he may take a proper compensation for the trouble involved, but no more. Paragraph 15. A witness who derives some benefit from the matter involved, or has any personal interest in it, no matter how remote, is unfit to testify. Paragraph 16. It is written in Ezekiel 18:18, and did that which is not good among his people. This is explained in Shavuot, Tractate Shavuot, folio 31a, that it refers to one who comes with a power of attorney, and brings litigation in court for a matter that does not concern him. This is only true when both litigants are in town, but the borrower happens to be a strong man and a good pleader, and with a lender fearing to appear against him, gives a power of attorney to someone else. Then the latter contends about the matter that is not of his concern. But if the defendant lives in another town and the plaintiff is unfit to go there in person and gives someone else the power of attorney, then the latter is doing a meritorious act by rescuing the wronged person from the hand of a robber. Some authorities hold that it is permissible for one to come to court with a power of attorney if he is remunerated for it, for then he does not appear as a meddlesome person. In other words, an attorney, right? Paragraph 17. One should abstain as much as possible from the taking of an oath, even if it is to be a true one. Hence what we do on Yom Kippur. That's Kol Nidre. It's the nullification of vows and oaths. Paragraph 18. If a litigant is aware that his opponent, who is obliged to take an oath, will swear falsely, he should come to terms with him the best way possible and not let him swear falsely. For it is written, Exodus 22:10, "The oath of the Lord shall be between them both." And it is inferred from the verse in Shavuot, Tractate Shavuot, Folio 39b, that the onus of the oath rests on both. Just catching up on the chat room here. Okay. Paragraph 19. If a Jew is in possession of evidence in favor of a non-Jew who has a lawsuit with another Jew in a non-Jewish court, then if by his testimony he will cause his fellow Jew to become liable to a larger sum than he would be in a Jewish court, he is not allowed to testify. Otherwise, he may testify. If the non-Jew had arranged with the Jew that he would testify on his behalf, and if he should not do so, the name of God will be desecrated by the Jew's breach of faith. He must give his evidence under all circumstances. Paragraph 20. A witness may testify to any remembered fact, and he need not, it actually says in here hot. He need hot fear. No, that's wrong. He need not fear that because it happened long ago, he would not remember clearly. He may testify even if he cannot recollect the facts unless he refers to the record that he made in his book. But upon reading the record, his memory is refreshed. He is also permitted to be reminded of the facts by another person. be it even another witness, but not by one of the litigants. The litigant, however, may bring the facts to the attention of a third party who may in turn may remind the witness, such as a lawyer. Paragraph 21. A witness who is related to one of the litigants or to one of the judges or to another witness in the case, even if the relationship be on the wife's side, may in certain cases be disqualified to testify. Even if the witness is related only to the guarantor and not to the borrower, he is unfit to testify on behalf of the borrower. The Torah has disqualified the testimony of a relative, not because of the love they bear to each other, for it is immaterial whether one testifies to the guilt or the innocence of his relative. It is an arbitrary decree. Even Moshe and Aharon could not testify for one another. Therefore, any witness who is related to any of the litigants or to another witness, even if the relationship has been dissolved, must inform the judges so that they may decide whether he may testify according to the law. Paragraph 22 in the last paragraph of this chapter. If one witness knows that another one is a sinful man who is unfit to testify according to the law of the Torah, and the judges are unaware of his wickedness, he is forbidden to testify with him, even though the testimony is true, for it is written in Exodus 23:1, "Put not thy hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness." It is a decree of the Torah that the testimony of a whole set of witnesses, be they ever so many, becomes invalid if only one among them is unqualified to testify. Who is considered an evildoer, who is disqualified by the decree of the Torah? Whoever transgresses in a matter which has been recognized in Israel to be a sin, and which is a divine prohibition, provided he transgressed intentionally and did not repent. If it can be presumed that he acted unintentionally or in ignorance, not being aware of the prohibition, he is not disqualified to bear testimony. Okay. We are on to chapter 182. This chapter deals with laws concerning theft and robbery. Still up there. I mean, he's moving away, but he's still up there. And I can see he's staring at me. I had to figure, do I interrupt the broadcast? Do I try to, photobomb him or something like that? I don't. Yeah, it's a spider. Spider. It's a big spider. Okay. As long as he stays over there, we're fine. Okay. Laws concerning theft and robbery. Paragraph 1. It is forbidden to rob or to steal an article even of trivial value from a Jew or a non-Jew. Now, I've seen many times, they get brought up on this anti-Semitic websites all the time, saying that, well, you can steal, a Jew cannot steal from a Jew, but he's allowed, the Talmud says he is actually allowed to steal from a non-Jew, which is actually not even close to being true, because the tractate of the Talmud that they actually quoted from doesn't even exist. There is no order, no tractate that's actually even called that. So it's a complete fabrication. Okay, so we find in Tana Debe Eliyahu, it happened that a certain man told him that he had wronged a non-Jew in measuring dates he had sold him. Thereafter, he had bought oil for the money that he received. The jug broke and the oil was spilled. I said, "Blessed be the Omnipotent who regards not persons." The Torah says in Leviticus 19:13, "Who shalt not oppress thy neighbor nor rob him, and the robbery of a non-Jew also constitutes robbery." Paragraph 2. It is permissible to take from another a thing of such little value that no one would mind it, like taking a chip from a bundle of wood for a toothpick. However, the pious refrain from doing even this. So if somebody came along and you had a stack of wood there and they broke off a piece to pick their teeth, basically nobody would care. Nobody's going to come out and say, "Hey!" But as it says, even the pious refrain from doing even this. Paragraph 3. It is forbidden to steal even with the intention of returning the article, doing it merely to annoy or to tease. So remember that one. Remember that one next time you see a bunch of young yeshiva buchers taking something from somebody and tossing it around back and forth to keep it away from him. They're actually breaking halakha. Remind him. Okay? You shall love your neighbor as yourself, but you shall surely rebuke him and not come to sin because of him. Paragraph 4. It is forbidden to oppress one's neighbor even in the slightest degree. As it is written, Leviticus 19:13, "Thou shalt not oppress thy neighbor." Who is considered an oppressor? He who has come into possession of his neighbor's money with the latter's consent, like a loan or wages, and refuses to pay him, or he puts him off by saying, "Come again." If one has borrowed an article from a non-Jew, which is still intact, he is forbidden to deny it, for this constitutes plain robbery. Moreover, when buying anything, whether from a from a non-Jew, it is forbidden to fool him in counting out the money. As it is written, it's kind of like a quick change artist. If you've ever run into one of those guys, they're pretty slick. It's written in Leviticus 25:50, "And he shall reckon with his buyer, which refers to a non-Jew, when the article is conveyed only in consideration of the sum agreed, and if the purchaser fools him when paying for it, it is tantamount to stealing the article and not just denying a debt. Even deception not involving any loss of money is forbidden, as stated in chapter 63, way back in 63. I see you staring at me. Don't get no crazy ideas. Okay. Paragraph 5. Maybe during the break I'll scoop him up in a paper and put him outside where he belongs. Paragraph 5. If a person covets his neighbor's house or vessel or anything which the latter has no intention of selling, and he seeks to influence him, either in person or through friends, to sell it to him, he violates the injunction from Deuteronomy 5, chapter 5:18. Neither shalt thou covet. From the very moment that he begins to devise ways and means how to procure the article, he has transgressed the aforesaid law. Thou shalt not desire thou shalt not desire, for desire is only in the heart, and desire leads to covetousness. He who buys the thing which he has desired transgresses 2 commands. Thou shalt not covet, and thou shalt not desire. Paragraph 6. Miles, that is not a bad idea for a story. I'm going to have to remember that. I'm going to have to write that down during the break. I don't want to forget that one, because it kind of reminds me of the story of David and the spider. Maybe there's so we can draw some kind of correlation between the two stories. We'll see. Paragraph 6. The robber is enjoined by law to restore the very thing that he had stolen, if it is in its original state and has not been altered. As it is written in Leviticus 5:23, he shall restore that which he took by robbery. The same law applies to theft. Restitution in money is not acceptable, even if the owner has given up hope of ever regaining the article. But if the stolen article was lost or altered in such a way that it cannot be restored to its original state, or it was sunk in a building and it can be retrieved only by tearing the building down, which would be a great loss to him, then he does his duty by paying the sum equivalent to the value of the article at the time it was stolen. But if the victim of the robbery is in another town, he need not send money to him, but he should notify him to call for it. If the victim died, restitution must be made to his heirs. Paragraph 7. He who robs the public, like a shopkeeper who gives a short measure or a short wait, or a public official who is lenient towards his kin and exacting towards others, or one who took usury from the public. For any of these, it is difficult to repent effectively. He should, therefore, establish a community project so that those whom he robbed should benefit by it. If, however, the identity of some of the victims is known to him, he must return what he had taken. His duty is not done by merely supplying the public need. Paragraph 8. It is forbidden to buy a stolen article from a thief or from a robber, whether he is a Jew or a non-Jew. For the non-Jew, too, is forbidden to rob or steal, even from another non-Jew, as this is one of the 7 precepts given to the sons of Noah. Now, this book was written very early in the 1960s, 1962, I think, 62 or 64. And I've seen a lot of talk lately because there's been such an interest in the 7 Noahide laws, and people coming to adhere to the 7 Noahide laws. And I've heard a number of rabbis say that no, the 7 Noahide laws don't exist anywhere. That this is something that somebody just came up with recently. Well, this book dates back. I mean, it was actually printed in the 60s. It actually predates that. And here it is. It's talking about the 7 precepts given to the sons of Noah. So much for it being a modern invention of the rabbis. So anyway, it is a serious sin to buy from a thief or a robber, for in doing so, one is abetting evildoers. With reference to this, it is written in Proverbs, "Whoso is partner with a thief hath his own soul. For if the thief finds no purchaser, he will not steal." Although the thief could take the stolen article to a place where he is not known, this course is not so convenient for him. The purchase is permissible if it is for the benefit of the rightful owner in order to restore the property to him on payment of the outlay, provided, however, that the owner could not recover it himself. It is also forbidden to accept for safekeeping anything which has apparently been stolen or robbed. There was a case not too long ago. I actually saw this at a rabbi that I know saw somebody had put either on a Craigslist or one of those Facebook sites where people sell their stuff, or who knows, one of them, eBay or something like that. Who knows where it was? I don't remember right now. But somebody had found a talit and a tefillin I think it was on a bus. And they put it up for sale. Never tried to find out who the original owner was, but they put it up for sale. So the rabbi that I know buys it, purchases it. And when he gets it, he puts a notice up for everybody to see. If you know who the person is that lost his talit and tefillin, it was left on a bus, such and such a date or whatever, let me know and I will restore it to him. Didn't expect to be compensated for it or anything. He was just trying to do what was right. Restore stolen property, something of extreme value to a person that had been stolen from him. Paragraph 9. It is forbidden to derive even the slightest benefit from the property stolen or robbed while it is in the criminal's possession, even if the benefit is so trivial that the owner would not mind it. As to exchange the money that has been stolen or robbed, it is forbidden. It is also forbidden to enter a house illegally occupied, to be protected from heat or rain, or to pass through a field that has been illegally acquired. That is, if you actually know that that's the case. Paragraph 10. It is therefore forbidden to accept anything from a known thief or robber who has no other occupation and whose property is presumed to have been acquired by theft or robbery. And a poor man is forbidden to accept charity from such a person. Okay, we've hit our halfway point in our study, and we're going to take our... There's a sticky edge on there somewhere. We're going to take our break right now, and when we return, we will continue on with our study. So everyone stay tuned, and we will be back shortly, and I will deal with the spider up here. So if you hear a lot of crashing and banging, don't just pay no attention to it. Pay no attention to it. See you back in 6.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies. Everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes.
And we are back. I guess I should have turned the volume up on that one a little bit. It was a little bit low. Anyway, I'm sure you all knew the words to, were humming along happily with the song. I mean, we all are old enough to remember the drive-ins and that playing during intermission. Okay, so let's get back. Let's catch up in the chat room here and see what we got. Anything interesting going on? Okay. Okay. So we we are on chapter 182, dealing with laws concerning theft and robbery, and we are on paragraph 11. So let's continue. It is forbidden to buy an article from anybody when it is apparent that it has been stolen by him, as when a fruit watchman offers to sell fruit in a secluded spot, or when one hides the article he offers for sale, or he says to the buyer, "Hide it." In such cases, one must not buy. It is even forbidden to buy of a woman an article which may be suspect that she is selling it without her husband's knowledge. It is likewise forbidden to buy from a man any of a woman's ornaments or apparel, as it might be suspect that he is selling it without his wife's knowledge. Paragraph 12. One who takes someone else's coat or hat inadvertently in a banquet hall or the like is not allowed to use it, and when the rightful owner appears, he must return it to him even if he lost his own. If the person receives something that does not belong to him, as for instance a garment from a laundry, he must not use it. He should return it to the owner even if one of his own garments has not been returned. If, however, the article remains in his possession a long time, he may assume that the rightful owner had made inquiries about it and had been reimbursed by the laundry proprietor, and he may use the garment. Paragraph 13. It is forbidden to use a neighbor's article without his knowledge, even if one is sure that the owner would not object and even be pleased by such use because of his friendly feelings towards him. Therefore, if one comes into a neighbor's orchard, he is forbidden to eat the fruit, although the owner would not mind it, since at the moment the owner is not aware of it. He is enjoying it illegally. It is necessary to admonish the public regarding this matter, as most people break the rule for lack of knowledge. Paragraph 14. Nevertheless, it is lawful for a member of one's household to give a morsel of bread to the poor man or to a child of the master's friend without his knowledge, because such is the general custom of people, and to do this is not regarded as an act done without the knowledge of the owner. For this reason, it is permissible to accept small charitable contributions from women, even without their husband's knowledge, since this is the general custom, if the husbands are aware of it. If a person generally eats fruit in another's garden with the owner's knowledge, he is permitted to do so on any occasion. This rule applies to any similar case. It's like our garden. Our neighbors around here all know that, they're more than welcome to, help themselves to anything in the garden. Paragraph 15. If one finds fruit on the road, which has fallen from a tree, the branches of which overhang the road, then if it is the type of fruit that usually falls off and becomes spoiled after it falls off, or if it does not become spoiled but most of the people who pass the place are non-Jews, or if cattle passing by usually eat this kind of fruit, so that the owner has already abandoned his right to ownership of it, then one may eat it. But if it is the kind of fruit that does not become spoiled by the fall, and most of the people passing by there are Jews, one is forbidden to take it, because it is considered as an act of robbery. If the fruit belongs to minor orphans, one is not allowed to take it under any circumstances, because minors cannot legally waive their rights to ownership. Paragraph 16, and the last paragraph. The law of the temporal government must be recognized as the law superseding the Jewish law in civil matters. Okay. We are on to chapter 138, damages to property. Paragraph 1. It is forbidden to damage another's personal property, even with the intention of making reparations, just as it is forbidden to steal or to rob with the intention of making restitution. It is equally forbidden to cause damage either by deed or by word. For instance, if, hey, look at this, Reb Ruvain is in here. For instance, if Ruvain has sold some merchandise to a non-Jew, Shimon is forbidden to come to the non-Jew and tell him that he had overpaid, even if it happens to be true. He who indirectly causes another to sustain a loss, although it is not punishable, although he is not punishable by a human court of law. I think that should be, he is not punished by a human court of law, is held answerable to the heavenly court until he reconciles the victim. Paragraph 2. One who sustains a loss to property may not recover his loss at the expense of another, for one is not allowed to save himself by causing even indirectly damage to another. But he may forestall damage to his own property, even if it involves a loss to others. Thus, if one's property is menaced by a flood, one is allowed to dam the water before reaching his property, although this will cause the water to overflow the field of his neighbor. But if the water has already inundated his field, he is forbidden to divert it to his neighbor's field. In other words, he has to act before it actually becomes an issue. Something our good friend Richard would know a lot about right now. Water inundating inundating a field. Anyway, let's see. We have Revoska has joined us. And Ruvain says, Shimon has a big mouth, the snitch. See, this is why I want him back on with us. I miss the really, really bad puns. I mean, I know it seems kind of odd, but I really do miss them. Okay, paragraph 3. Likewise, if an army arrived in a town and the townspeople are obliged to billet the soldiers, or give them rooms to stay, one is not allowed to bribe the general to exempt him, because by doing so he is causing damage to another townsman. If you can't bill it there, then they're going to bill it somewhere else. So, also, in all cases of taxes, it is forbidden to influence the officer to exempt him, if by doing so he makes the burden heavier for others. One who acts in this manner is called an informer. Paragraph 4. It is forbidden to surrender the person or the property of another into the hands of a heathen, whether it be by deed or by word, to inform on him or to divulge his hiding place, and whoever acts in this manner has no share in the world to come. It is forbidden to inform even on an evildoer who has transgressed the law, and thus cause him to suffer either by his person or his property, and even if he constantly vexes him with words. If, however, the informer had informed on him, and he cannot save himself without informing on the informer, he is permitted to do so. The informant is informed, and then the informer informs. And the informs on the informer, and the informer. I think I got it. Okay. Paragraph 5. It is forbidden to enter the plowed field of another, because it will be spoiled by trampling upon it, causing it damage. Paragraph 6. A man is forbidden to stand in a neighbor's field when the crops are at their best, in order not to harm them by an evil eye. Especially is it forbidden to gaze at one's neighbor in a manner as to harm him personally by an evil eye. Even with regard to business and occupation where there is no cause to fear an evil eye, if a person is working in his own house and on his own property, it is forbidden to stare at him without his knowledge, for it is likely that he may not wish anybody to know his business. Upon seeing a fellow engaged at his work, it is good manners to bless him by saying, "May you prosper in your task." Something good to remember. Because how many times do we actually see people working? I mean, you go and, have tires put on your car or something like that, and you can see people working all the time. Say it, may you prosper in your task. It's time we get back to some of these old traditions. It would be a much nicer world if we did. Paragraph 7. If a person is forbidden to do anything, even on his own premises, which may cause damage to his neighbor. A person is forbidden to do anything, even on his own premises, which may cause damage to his neighbor. Thus, he must avoid placing in his court, near his neighbor's wall, anything that generates heat, like manure, and thus cause damage to the wall, except at a distance of 3 handbreadths. Now, this goes way back to when we were talking about fields and separation of fields and stuff like that, and the wall that has to be 6 handbreadths high, or the ditch that has to be, I think, 4 handbreadths deep and 3 handbreadths wide, and so on and so forth. Way, way back. Once the water that he pours out and the drain pipe that carries off the water from the roof must be at least 3 handbreadths away from the neighbor's wall. In other words, the running water coming off of the roof eventually is going to undermine the wall and cause the wall to collapse. Under no circumstances may one pour out the contents of a chamber pot or urinate close to a wall of his neighbor. If the wall is of stone or wood without plaster, one may pour water on the wall at a distance of 1 handbreadth. If the wall is of solid rock, one may pour water and urinate on the wall itself. Good to know. Good things to know right now, right? These are always handy things to know. If the wall is made of bricks or of wood covered with plaster, one must remove from it a distance of 3 handbreadths, because you'll damage the plaster. Okay. Okay. Chapter 184. If one causes personal injury. This isn't an advertisement for a lawyer. Don't worry. Paragraph 1. A man is forbidden to strike his fellow man. One who does so is guilty of transgressing a divine injunction, as it is written in Deuteronomy 25, 2 through 3, if the wicked man deserves to be beaten, and so on, 40 stripes he may give him, he shall not exceed. In fact, I think actually the Talmud says that they have to stop at 39, just on the chance that there may have been a miscount. And that's part of the Talmud that we actually already had studied. If the Torah is concerned about the wicked, ordaining that he is not to be beaten for his sin beyond the prescribed limit, how much more then does this apply to the beating of the righteous? He who raises his hand against another, even if he does not strike him, is called Rasha, wicked. As it is written in Exodus 2:13, and he said to the Rasha, wherefore smitest thou thy neighbor? The biblical text reads, not lama hikitam, wherefore hast thou smitten, but lama taken, wherefore wilt thou strike? Although he has not yet smitten his fellow, he is called Rasha. Whoever smote his fellow man was excommunicated by the ancients and could not be counted as one of a quorum of 10 in the performance of of sacred duties until he was reinstated by the Beit Din upon his promise to abide by their decision. However, if someone strikes him or another fellow Jew, and he is unable to save himself or the fellow Jew except by striking him back, then he is permitted to do so. Paragraph 2. It is forbidden to strike even a disobedient servant, but one is permitted to chastise his small children or an orphan whom he brings up in his house, in order that they behave properly, as that is for their own good. So much for this timeout stuff. Spank your kids. It's good for them. As long as you don't get out of control with it. Trust me, I got spanked a lot. And I deserved every single one of them. Okay. Paragraph 3. Ruben, you don't need to comment on that one. It's, Miles, it's the first one. R-A-S-H-A. Paragraph 3. One must not throw broken glass or the like in any place where it may cause harm to anybody. Now, you wouldn't think that would need to be said, but obviously it does. I mean, just go down any city street and see that, something as common sense as this, obviously it needs to be said. Okay, paragraph 4. If a neighbor suffers from a headache, which may be aggravated by the noise of the hammering, then one is forbidden to pound grits or anything similar to this, even in his own house, if the noise of hammering can reach him. Common courtesy, right? Be as concerned about your neighbor's be as concerned about your neighbor's well-being as you are concerned of your own. Paragraph 5. There are many kinds of injuries which one is forbidden to inflict, either upon his neighbor or upon the public. But this is the general principle of the law which applies to all such cases. One is not allowed to do anything on his own premises, and especially on a public thoroughfare, that may cause damage to his neighbor or a wayfarer on the public highway, unless it be a thing that is generally done by everyone in town, which is equivalent to having received the sanction of all the townsmen, so that each in turn may have the same privilege wherever he or his children after him may wish to do it. Paragraph 6. One who scares his fellow man, as by sudden scream behind him or by appearing suddenly before him in the dark or the like, will be answerable to the heavenly court. Paragraph 7. The person who injures his neighbor in any way, even though he has paid for the injury, Also, a thief or a robber, although he has made restitution of the stolen article or he has paid for it, cannot obtain forgiveness in heaven until he has begged forgiveness of the injured party or of the one whose property he had robbed or stolen, because of the anguish he had caused him. The latter should be ready to forgive the wrong and not be I know this word I obdurate in refusing his pardon. Okay, but there are also other laws that go along with that. 3 times, third time, you're obliged to forgive the person. You can turn him down twice, but the third time you have to forgive him. Paragraph 8. That's why you see many Haredi when they are asking. If you watch the movie Ushpazin, Ushpazin, you'll notice that when they go and they take this, they think it's an abandoned sukkah. And Moshe Belanga is told it's an abandoned sukkah. Nobody wants it. So he takes it and he finds out that it belonged to the cantor. And the cantor did not give up his rights to it. In fact, he was looking for it. He was wondering where his old sukkah went to. And Moshe goes and seeks the guy out. And he's standing out in the courtyard and he's yelling up at the guy. I didn't know it. I didn't know it was yours. I thought it was abandoned, this and that and the other thing. And the guy says, fine, no problem. And he says, no. He says, you must forgive me. He says, I forgive you. He says, no, you must say it 3 times. Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. You must say it 3 times. Forgiven, forgiven, forgiven. And he does. And he wishes him a happy Sukkot. Wonderful movie if you get to a chance to watch it. Should watch it after Yom Kippur and before Sukkot. You should watch Ushpazin, or during Sukkot even. Watch Ushpazin. It's a wonderful movie. Wonderful movie. Paragraph 8. If one sees that his neighbor is in trouble, mercy protect us, he shall do whatever he can or hire others to come to his rescue if he cannot do it himself. If the one who was assisted can afford it, he must repay the money thus expended on his account. But even if it is known that he cannot afford such repayment, one must not shirk his duty, but save him at his own expense. If one keeps away from doing so, one is guilty of transgressing the injunction from Leviticus 19:16, neither shalt thou stand idly by the blood of thy neighbor. Likewise, if a man hears wicked persons hatching a plot against his fellow man, or they are setting a trap for him, and he fails to reveal it to him, or if he can satisfy them with money, and he fails to appease them so that they would not carry out their evil design, or any other matter similar to this, is likewise transgressing the command, neither shalt thou stand idly by the blood of thy neighbor. Our sages tell us in Mishnah Sanhedrin, folio 37a, if you want to look it up, he who saves one life in Israel is considered as if he had saved the whole world. Paragraph 9. And we're going to finish this chapter and we're going to leave it there. A person who engages in counterfeiting money, and it is feared that he will jeopardize others thereby, is considered a public menace, and he should be warned to desist from his practice. If he does not heed the warning, it is permissible to denounce him to the government and to declare that no one else is implicated in the crime. If a person is falsely accused of being an accomplice, he may likewise assert his innocence by stating, "I did not participate in this crime, but so-and-so was the sole criminal." Paragraph 10. It has been the custom of the 7 elders of the city to amerce, A-M-E-R-C-E, amerce fines, levy fines, I guess, in cases of injuries, insults, and the like. They must not, however, act independently of the court, since there are many diverse laws concerning such matters, and it is not permitted to impose a fine greater than what the law requires. For the honor of a fellow man should not be treated lightly. Paragraph 11 and the final paragraph. When a woman has severe pain in childbirth, the physician is permitted to destroy the child before its birth, either with medicine or with instruments. For as long as it has not yet been born, it is not considered a living soul, and it is permissible to save the mother by sacrificing the child. It is akin to the case of self-defense. However, as soon as it protrudes its head, it must not be touched. For one living soul must not be sacrificed to save another. And this is the way of nature. Okay, now the first part of this is the important part. When a woman has severe pain in childbirth, her life is in danger. Okay, that's the only case this is permitted. Okay, so when we return after the High Holy Days, we will begin on chapter 185, which deals with borrowing and hiring. And I said, as I said, we are, let's see, about 50 pages from completing the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. So if you have any ideas about what we should go into studying next, if we should return to the Talmud, or if we should go into studying something else, let me know. Drop me a message in Facebook or over on the website, or email me, because you can find my email on the website. And let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll see where we go from here. Anyway, as I said, this is going to be our last class until after the High Holy Days. And then we will return. And tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Torah study with Rabbi and Zeta, my furry-faced sidekick back here, which I don't think you can see because the microphone is sticking in front of him. But he's back there, trust me. And the spider crawling up on the wall, too. Maybe he'll still be here. Who knows? Maybe he wanted to learn something. Who knows? Anyway, so I hope to see you tomorrow. Don't forget, come Kabbalat and Mariv Shabbat service at 8 p.m. on Friday night, and Shabbat morning, Shachrit and Musaf at 10 a.m. So until then, everyone, we will say Shana Tova and Laila Tov.